40 years ago? Seriously? It just doesn't seem like it could possibly be that long. I mean, to me, it's like it was just 40 years ago. Well, hey there, folks. It's Jimmy Stewart here, hoping this is finding you all doing well. Today's video. Well, for the last couple of videos I've been doing, I started a series on this guy right here, the Cordially album. This is being the 40th anniversary. This album was released in 1982, which is mind-blowing, I know. But anyway, 40 years ago. So I started doing a series on this, and I started deep diving into some of the songs, explaining how they were done, what instruments were used on them, and things like that. And it seems like some of you are actually interested in it, so I'm going to continue a little bit with it. Today, a couple of the guys were asking me about the Siel. Now, the orchestra, the Siel Orchestra, not the orchestrator, although I've been calling it an orchestrator since 1981, since I bought it. But it truly is a Siel Orchestra. That's the actual name. Like I said, I purchased it in England in 81, and one of the subscribers to the channel, the perennial gadgeteer, said, Jimmy, why don't you do a little deep dive on the Siel and give us a little demo on it, if it still works. And of course, I replied back, yeah, of course it still works. But honestly, I don't really know that. I mean, it worked the last time I used it. I had it rewired from 220 volt to 110 volt when I brought it back to the States when I came back in 84. And it worked then. I might have used it for a couple of demos, but I haven't really used it in 30-something years probably. So it worked the last time I tried it. We're going to try it right here on the channel and see if it still works live right here. So let's check out the Siel Orchestra. Oh, and for EKW555, again, it's the Siel Orchestra, not the orchestrator, and it has a cello switch, not a cello switch. My apologies to all the cellists around the world. It's a cello switch, not a cello switch. Thank you, EKW555, and thank you, Perennial Gadgeteer, for suggesting we do a little deep dive on this and actually see if it really still works. So let's check it out. Okay, well, it's a little tight in here. I got out one of my portable keyboard stands here and removed this from back there. Got the printout from the net. This actually is it's the stand piece to set your music on if you wanted to. Put that on there, I guess. Make it look official. Let's see. These went like so, and then you put them on there like this. And tighten them down. And there you have it. Cool. Huh. Let me read the little printout here on the Siel. The orchestra is a 4-part orchestral synthesizer from the classic Italian synth company Siel, later bought by ARP and relabeled the Quartet. The orchestra has 4 presets, and I was explaining that on the last video on episode 2, using this with the No Not I track. But it has 4 presets: brass, strings, organ, and piano. On this, actually, it's reed and piano. The 4 tone color families can be played individually, or 2 can be played simultaneously. They are also individually tweakable. Selected presets will light up LEDs to show you which sliders and buttons can be used to modify the sound. So if I go to piano, well, I got to turn it on yet. We haven't turned it on. Let's turn it on. Yes, all right, volume down. Again, this hasn't been used in over 30 years, folks. I'm surprised that the power came on, but I'm happy that it did. Selected presets will light up LEDs to show you which sliders and buttons can be used to modify the sounds. The synth itself is very limited, but there's no external control, there's no patch mod wheel or any of that kind of stuff, and there's few edit parameters. However, it sounds very good, and it is, after all, a classic analog synth, and it is. The brass section creates trumpet and trombone sounds with independent attack and sustain controls. The string section creates a cello and violin sounds with independent attack and sustain controls. The organ or reed section is two-voice and has a Celesti sound available as well. The piano section offers two types, traditional or honky-tonk. Now, when this got sold to ARP, the ARP Quartet, which is completely identical to the orchestra, has been used by 808 State and Massive Attack and some of its other great sounding hits. Jimmy Page has also used it as well. Then it talks about the orchestral 2, but this was printed off, when did I print this off? 2008 I printed this off. So there you go. All right, so I'm just going to, we'll go to the piano. Now, when I hit piano, you'll see that the piano LED came on and these two. So basically what you've got is your selection of piano or honky-tonk, volume, and then sustain. So if I go to piano, then you got sustain. So it holds it longer. Honky tonk. Okay, so that's the piano section. In the reed section, again, it lights up reed here, and then you got attack and volume on the reeds. So here's the accordion. So you can set the attack mode. That's the musette by itself. With the accordion. Again, you can do two at the same time. Then by setting the attack, you can bring it in like a delay. Okay? Strings, it's your cello. Again, you got attack and sustain. These sliders got a little bit of, you can hear it. So I think with a good cleaning, they'll be fine. Again, folks, it's been 30-something years since this has even been on. Violin. That gives us a solo. And with the solo on, you see this other patch lit up, and that's the vibrato and vibrato speed. So I can turn the vibrato. Hear it? That's percussive. Take it off the solo. Then you can set the attack. And sustain. I can turn the sustain off. In the brass, now you see this section lights up. This is the trumpet. Again, you got vibrato and vibrato speed, and then you got brilliance, and of course the attack. And then a mute. Of course, I think the brass sounds better, obviously, in the lower frequencies. Add a trombone. So there it is, the Siel Orchestra. Again, pretty cool for 1981, actually when they came out in 1979. Now, I did do an up-close on this on episode 2 of the 40th anniversary on the Cordially album, but I wanted to show you on this video, when I turn this on, you can see what happens here. See, you've got these two LEDs that light up until I go into a bank. So if I go into piano, like here, you'll see that it tells me I can use the piano keys here, the sustain, and the volume. So if I go to read, again, it lights up here. So I've got my accordion and musette. I've got the attack on the read, and of course the volume. If I go to strings, You can see that all these light up. I've got my strings up here, the cello, the violin, the percussive sound of the strings. Now you see what happens when I hit percussive. See how when I go percussive, the attack goes off. And if I go to solo, the sustain goes off and the vibrato comes on over here, which allows me to add the vibrato to it in a solo mode. And if I go to brass, you see what happens here. Of course, your volume always stays lit. But over here on brass, you'll see that the trumpet and trombone come on, along with your vibrato, mute, the brass attack, and the brilliance of the brass. So that's how all that works. 4 banks, and again, you can do 2 at the same time. Not 2 banks, but 2 instruments. So the trombone and trumpet you can add together. And the accordion and musette you can add together. And piano and honky-tonk you can add together. Or separately. And there it is, 49 keys. A simple, on the back you have a simple low and high output, standard 3/4 inch, and then you've got a foot switch for volume, and I believe it's got almost like a MIDI type. There's my Alesis, by the way. Just wanted to show you that you know, and again that's almost, I think that's 20 years old as well by itself now. Like I said, I have a hard time getting rid of stuff. My Easy Bus and of course some other mixers and what have you. But on the back here, let me get around to the back. So you can see you've got your standard outputs, and then there's a volume pedal output. Almost looks like a MIDI output, but it's not. So your high and low volume outputs, and a foot switch for sustain. And that's it. And you can see where they did this when they rewired it for me. They put a little label on there saying that it was wired for 110 stateside use. But there it is, the Siel Orchestra. Like I said, the piano pieces and things I did on this album I used between this and my baby upright grand. I'll show you a pic of that there in the studio in South Wales. You can see this in the forefront there. And that pic is from 1981. Again, this is a 49 key unit. And it was pretty expensive back then. You know, I think I paid somewhere around £500 or £600 for this. And back in 1981, the pound was $2 and some change. So it was pretty expensive. And again, I bought it strictly for the album. Didn't really use it after that. Again, maybe for a couple of demos. I can't really remember. Then later on, I went to Yamaha Digital and my Alesis, my QS1, QS 6.1, and what have you. And, you know, a bunch of different keyboards since then. But I have a hard time getting rid of stuff. And this is like cool. You know, it's nostalgia. Still works, which is great. So thank you, Perennial Gadgeteer, for suggesting I hook it up and give you a little deep dive on it. There it is, the Siel Orchestra with the cello switch. All right, folks, thanks so much for listening today. Thanks so much for stopping in. If you're enjoying the series, let me know. We're going to deep dive some more tracks from it. Then obviously we've got some guitar stuff coming up as well, so stay tuned for that. I appreciate you all stopping in. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, however, come on over to the good side. Would love to have you on board. So until next time, folks, it's Jimmy Stewart saying so long, take care of yourselves, Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. And we'll talk to you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye for now. Hey, and a quick shout out to my old buddy, my old shipmate from the 70s, Danny Apple. Danny sent me this shirt last week. It's a Nimitz veteran shirt, which basically means, you know, Danny and I were both part of the pre-com crew for the USS Nimitz, and the USS Nimitz actually got commissioned on my birthday on May 3rd in 1975. So we were both pre-com crew guys. Very, very cool. Thank you so much, Danny. We haven't seen each other in a long time, but he still sent me this shirt, which I thought was very, very cool. Rock on, shipmate. Bohica to you, my friend. Thank you very much, Dan. Appreciate it.